You got Mick in on drums. You had a great production team with Neil, who worked with Dokken on the most successful stuff. You had Max Norman, who produced all of Ozzy's early stuff, Blizzard of Oz, and the first couple of albums. And the result was Wicked Sensation, which was a top 50 US album. That was a pretty successful start, really, to go from one to the other and maintain a sort of equilibrium.
Yeah. Well, we threw a lot at it, a lot of time, a lot of money, and so it's somewhat ironic that, with the amount of success that we had, limited amount of success we had with the initial Lynch Mob record and touring and stuff, we went into debt, pretty serious debt. So as I said, it was an investment, but for an investment to work, you got to give it time to pay you back.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And so that's what really crushed me about the Oni experience, and not to disparage him in any way. I'm sure he would admit the same thing, but all this work and all this time and energy and money and the beautiful things that we created out of all this really meant nothing because we couldn't deliver because of the singer, and then the whole thing fell apart.
You moved on again for the second album. You got Keith Olsen in again, mega producer involved there. Rob Mason is in on vocals, and Glenn Hughes was involved with this as well. I mean, that was a bit of a master stroke.
Yeah, well, Glenn Hughes was there to be he was managed by Keith Olsen, and Keith had this propensity to just bring people in that he managed, quote unquote, that we paid, and so he made a commission off all these people he brought in. So he was hiring everybody and his mother to do all kinds of silly shit, and he had pinball machines and bartenders and ping pong instructors, and I don't know what the fuck. I mean, it was crazy. It was a zoo in there because basically we had a number, and the producer, when he produces your record, he's the intermediary between the band and the label, and so they know the first, just like a divorce lawyer, the first thing they know is your finances. So he knew the budget, he knew how much money was there, and he was determined to get it all. So how am I, we had a $500,000 budget. So he says, okay, well, he says to himself, how am I going to get all that money? I need, the budget's $500,000. I need $501,000. He didn't tell us that, but he got it by doing those things. And one of the things was, you need a vocal coach in here. Vocal coach for what? For Robert Mason, just to guide him along. I'm not going to argue with Keith Olsen. Okay, it's X amount of money. For Glenn Hughes, which is my favorite white singer of all time in history forever anyways. So Glenn's just sitting there every day, comes in, strolls in, late morning, early afternoon, sits around for a few hours. Robert doesn't need any help, So eventually one day I'm like, listen, we're paying all this money, Keith, for Glenn. He's the greatest singer in the world. Why don't we just have him go in there and sing it? And they no, we can't do that. We can't do that. I go, okay, so there was one of the rare moments where I put my foot down. I said, listen, this is my money. This is my record. You had talked me into having this guy sit here. I want him to hear us sing a song. So I just went to Glenn directly. I said, hey, would you mind getting on the mic and doing this? And he did. And it was blood curdling, hair raising, goosebumps on everybody's arms. It was, fuck me, man. I'm like, I just put an instant smile on my face. I'm going, that's it. And the tape magically disappeared. And it was, I don't have a copy of it. The producer made a point of destroying all the evidence, which really pissed me. I don't even have that just to have it as a reference, to live with. I spent $500,000 of my own money. I didn't even get a cassette tape of that, which was the highlight of the whole experience.
So the question would have to be then, did you not consider getting Glenn Hughes in full time, or was he in the midst of doing something else?
Oh, I definitely considered it and thought about it and talked to them about it. But again, Keith shot me down and said no, because in Keith's view, and you sort of realize this now, is that he didn't want to rock the boat. This was just a gig for him. You don't want to talk about changing the singer in the middle of a record where he stands to make $500,000. So he just wanted to keep the status quo going. Don't rock the boat. That's a dumb idea. Don't ever bring it up again. You've got your singer. Let's just finish this record. If I was a little smarter and more forward thinking, I would have overrid him on that, but whatever. I mean, dude, come on. If that second record would have came out with Glenn Hughes, oh my God. Without taking anything away from Robert, but Robert's amazing, but you know what I'm saying.